But I'm not problematic because I don't tan my skin too dark.
Everyone, and welcome to episode 7. I am your host, Alannized, and this is Noche De Pendejadas. Para todos ustedes en casita que no saben what Noche De Pendejadas is, escuchen pendejas porque les voy a decir. Noche De Pendejadas is a weekly episodic show in which I go ahead and bring your favorite influencers to chismear, have some cocktails, and see what the fuck they've been up to. So si tú quieres ver a tu influencer favorito, hazme un pinche favor, pendeja, y para lo que estás haciendo and comment their username down below. Para todos ustedes que no saben, Noche de Pendejadas is also disponible as a podcast, so make sure you guys go ahead and head over to wherever you guys listen your podcast and subscribe. La semana pasada, you guys, a ustedes les encantó el episodio de La Comadre Lulu, y esta semana les traigo a guest just as exciting. Please help me welcome tonight's guest, Gabriel Zamora!
Hi, everyone!
Hello. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You guys, we literally planned this, a week ago?
Yeah.
I literally hit him up last week and I was like, bitch, everyone's been asking for you. Are you down? We don't really have a lot of conversations. Like, cuando nos miramos, nos saludamos.
Sí.
I feel like cada quien en su mundo. So I was kind of scared to be like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Because you also have your own podcast.
Yeah.
Cuando le pregunté, I was like, you know what? Let me send a message. Y ya no mire nada. And then you replied, we planned it in a fucking week. So thank you so much for making it fucking happen.
Thank you for having me. Like, I've known Alan now for like years.
I feel like
probably the first year that I moved to LA, I met you.
We both started in the industry como a la misma vez. So I feel like I've been knowing Gabriel for a long time. And this is the first time we ever do anything together.
Yeah.
Because I feel like de tanto tiempo you guys
No, we did Jenny's Quince.
Oh, yes.
Remember? Yeah.
Yes. For everyone that doesn't know who Gabriel Zamora is, which if you don't, estás viviendo bajo una pinche roca, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it to him para que les diga quién es y qué hace.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gabriel Zamora. I am a beauty and lifestyle influencer, honestly, on social media, on YouTube, on Instagram. I do a little bit of everything. I also dabble in cooking, making Mexican dishes that I try to like recreate on my own. Predominantly like work in the makeup space. I also do a lot of advocacy for the LGBTQ community and representation, as well as like being a Latino who wears makeup. I have so many different hats, so many different facets. I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a little messy and problematic, but you know, that's Gabriel Zamora.
Usually our guests, you guys, they're kind of like, I don't know what to say, pero tú viniste listo.
She's media trained.
She's like, you know what? I'm going to tell them who I am por si no me conocen, para que me conozcan in literally 5 seconds. Ya que conocieron un poquito a Gabriel, we're going to go into the chisme porque Gabriel viene listo para dejarles saber todo. And I am ready to fucking ask him, bitch. So we're going to go ahead and dive into chisme and cocktails. You guys, como pueden ver, aquí Gabriel trajo su propia agua. Yo voy a tomar agua también. Yes. So we have some water con hielito.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're gonna get you sponsored by Smart Water. Watch.
Period. La primera pregunta que tenemos, you said it yourself, you're problematic. And I feel like a lot of people, especially in the beauty industry, when they hear the name Gabriel Zamora, they think about a very important time in the beauty community.
Yeah.
Yes, you even know what I'm talking about. And I feel like I don't even need to say it. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. Do you necessarily feel like you're problematic?
I, for a while, thought I was because of the conversation that was being had about me. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, a lot of people had an opinion. But it wasn't until I had a conversation with a friend that's like, I don't think you're problematic because you don't do bad things intentionally. Uh-huh. You are messy because you do involve yourself in sometimes situations that don't involve you. You state your opinion on the internet. So I'll take messy. I'll take petty. Mm-hmm. But I'm not problematic because I don't tan my skin too dark. I don't be saying certain offensive words. I don't be starting actual fights. I don't be like, I could be real problematic like some of the other beauty influencers.
The times I feel like que te has involucrado in scandals, how
Sí.
people may say it, you state your opinion about people that you know. It's not like you're over here like hablando out of your ass of people que ni has conocido, ni has platicado with. I enjoyed that shit. Like me as a fucking viewer, bitch, I'm like, when is fucking Gabriel gonna insert himself? Because I need Gabriel to fucking do that. And I feel like for a lot of people, you know, for a long time, you were getting canceled for inserting yourself into situations donde la gente decía nada que ver contigo. Do you necessarily feel like a lot of the times que te metías en situaciones en verdad no eran situaciones tuyas?
Yo no creo que me metí en situaciones que no eran mías. Lo que yo hago en being an influencer is I state my opinion on the internet. Like, yo soy Gabriel Zamora, yo tengo mis propias like, what is it, redes sociales.
Yes, redes
para
sociales.
decir mi opinión en mis páginas para la gente que me siga a mí. Ellos quieren saber mi opinión.
Yes.
Y ever since my truth and Dramageddon 1 and me coming out with my truth, stating my opinion, people love that format and they're like, oh my God, we love that you're like able to really call out BS that you see behind the scenes because you are a person behind the scenes. And I did it a couple times and nobody had an issue with it until my opinion didn't align with the quote unquote popular opinion of the internet. Porque cuando uno está teniendo conversaciones con la gente en la internet, it's not about like the normal legal process of like, oh, we have a judge and we have a jury and like there's no, the court of public opinion is very different and it's not going to always go the legal route. So para mí, yes, one can say that I had opinions on things that didn't always involve me. Absolutely. But I'm Gabriel Zamora. And if you don't want to hear about Gabriel Zamora's opinions, then don't follow Gabriel Zamora.
The only difference with you and the people that have an opinion all the time on the internet, you have a following. That's the only difference.
And I'm not scared to get quote unquote canceled or have people disagree with me. Porque a mí me gusta la conversación.
Yes.
I don't mind being wrong. And I can acknowledge that I'm not always right. Absolutely. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Please don't ever think of me as perfect. But I want to have a conversation. And if somebody's like, hey, I disagree with you, this is why. And these are kind of like my credentials in understanding this. Or, hey, I'm a fan and I don't agree with you. Pero decirme like, ay, ya cállate el hocico, like nada que ver contigo, like, okay, pero you don't have a platform. You're judging me from your stained ass futon laying on the floor with your wonky ass charger that probably is charging and uncharging your phone. Hate, keep on hating. But at the end of the day, you're listening to Gabriel Zamora's opinion.
It's kind of like you telling everyone in the haters to shut the fuck up. That's literally, they're stating their opinion, but when you state it, it becomes a whole, what the fuck? Why would Gabriel say it? But people have been saying it before him. People have been talking shit before him. But it's just the fact that you have the platform and you have an audience where people feel like, oh, he should have stayed quiet.
He should have just been talking about makeup and blah, blah, blah. Pero lo que me fastidia es que I won't get judged if I talk about a celebrity. Like if I talk shit about Miley Cyrus or Ariana Grande or Beyonce, yeah, I'll get hate from their fans, but not from the overall community. And it's not until I talk about somebody within the beauty community that I'm trying to hold accountable that people have an issue with it, which doesn't make sense because it's like, y'all want me to talk about issues, important issues like trans lives, LGBTQ individuals. When we talk about immigration reform, we talk about politics. Y'all want me to talk about all these different things, but then you're like, but you can't talk about this and you can't.
Or that person.
Gabriel Zamora's platform is just that, Gabriel Zamora. And if you don't like it, you don't have to follow it. You don't have to listen.
Do you feel like being the way you are te ha afectado en tus relaciones with certain people in the community?
Yes, but it's not because I'm like, I think the reason why mi modo de ser ha afectado mis relaciones is porque I don't put up with bullshit. And if you're gonna be a shitty person, I don't have to be around it. That's why, like, if you look at my resume of friends that I've had on the internet and the people that I no longer align with, they're problematic. Go to their comments. Like if you go to my comments on my social media, you don't see hate. You don't see comments with like 100 likes of people bashing me, my own followers. No. All my ex-friends, absolutely. Go to their comments and they're getting dragged. What does that say? I don't like to be aligned with actual problematic people. You can say I'm messy because Gabriel siempre tiene opinión. Everybody has an opinion. In the same way that people want me to shut up, that's your opinion. I don't have to listen to it in the same way you don't have to listen to mine.
I feel like you're very blunt, which is amazing. And I feel like you all, period. That promo, bitch.
That's my podcast, Blunt Talk.
He has a podcast called Blunt Talk, which I've listened to a couple episodes. You always need a friend that's blunt. You need people to tell you like, ¿sabes qué, Alan? La estás cagando. ¿Sabes qué? Eso no está bien lo que hiciste. Do you feel like it also becomes, I mean, aside from the social media world, do you feel like you've ruined real like in your personal life and relationships because people can't handle the truth?
I don't think I've ruined it. I just distanced myself from them. And I think that people think that like, oh, the friendship is over. And it's like, no, it's just like, if we don't align, like it's one thing to be like, hey, Alan, I don't agree with how you do your foundation routine. That's one thing. Like we don't have to have a ending of a friendship over that. But if I say like, hey, I don't like how you're appropriating my culture when you did not grow up with it. Hey, I don't like how you are not apologizing for your past certain comments that you've made about individuals. And people don't like that type of conversation sometimes. They think that like, oh, well, I have all these yes people around. Why the fuck is Gabriel telling me, like calling me out on my shit that nobody else is calling me out on? And I'm like, okay, I don't have to be around. If you want to be mediocre and you want to be like the same boring bitch that everyone's like, yes, 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 because they're like literally like leeches, literally taking life away from you, by all means, do it. Pero lo que yo nunca voy a ser un yes man that's going to be like, oh, pobrecita, like I'll nurture you. No. I'm tough love. Y si te duele, pues Te duele. En ojalá que puedas aprender y puedas tener la conversación tan siquiera conmigo. Si mi opinión te ofende, dime, hey, Gabriel, no me gusta lo que me dijiste. Aunque sea tu opinión, ¿por qué me dijiste eso? Hay que tener una conversación. Y si al último de eso podemos, like, we can agree to disagree, that's fine. Pero si vas a decir, I don't give a fuck, okay, then I don't give a fuck either.
Going back to the original question, do you feel like knowing what you know now, during all the scandals, all the dramas, causing all the uproar, because it really was, you guys,
I just be tweeting and like shit goes down.
Yes, it really does. Do you feel like knowing and going through all that, do you feel like you'd insert your opinion or you'd do what you did, not just them, but for every single scandal or cancellation? Do you think you would still insert yourself?
I had like a realization around 2019 because I was kind of like a part of the second scandal, like Dramageddon 2 with Tati, where it was one thing for Dramageddon 1 where it was like, oh, it was petty stuff. Like it was just messy. Like that one, yes, it was like a scandal, but it was just petty stuff. Like, oh, he hurt my feelings, or like, hey, I don't like how you said this. The internet loves chisme. Like I love Wendy Williams. Like I love celebrity culture. Like influencers are like the internet celebrities in a sense. I understand why people are so fascinated, but it wasn't until the second scandal that I was like, oh, bitches are ready to lie. And the thing is, I have to know my place as a Latino, as a gay Latino in America, that I can't go up against rich white people. It is what it is.
It is like, it really
especially
is.
A rich white woman who's gonna cry a rich white woman tears and have everybody on her back, even though she's lying. Everybody dragged me because they're like, look at how you made her, and I'm like, but she's lying. Oh, so we're gonna lie. So then I had to like really reevaluate of like, I don't mind people saying like, oh, you like insert yourself, you insert yourself. Cool. But I didn't want to be a problematic influencer because I feel like that's the route I was going. And I was like, Gabriel, you need to remove yourself and you just need to let time. And that's the hardest thing that I think people don't always understand. Time is the hardest one to deal with. I had to give it time. I had to for people to understand that she was lying, as well as like, okay, Gabriel isn't about that life.
Yeah.
He's not about that lifestyle anymore. He's not about the bullshit anymore. Like, él va a decir su opinión sobre cosas más importantes, like when it comes to like LGBTQ rights, when it comes to politics, when it comes to our presidency, when it comes to voting in different states, when it comes to the changing of laws that marginalize individuals still to this day. Absolutely. I'm going to use my voice for that. But when it comes to like certain messy things, I stopped. But to be quite honest, I mean, this might be an exclusive. I'm ready to be back, to be messy.
I'm ready to be messy.
I'm ready to be messy again.
You've done such a great job with calling people out. Yeah. I can say it 100%. A veces uno no habla, aunque sepa cosas, because you're like, you know what? La gente online, you guys, se enciega mucho, especially cuando tienen alguien que tiene 5 million followers, se enciegan.
Sí.
You know what I mean? Especially when you're going up against someone that has a bigger platform. You've done such a great job where you're like, eso te vale verga a ti.
Sí.
Te vale verga, and you're like, I'm going to speak what I want to speak, and I'm going to say what I got to say. A lot of people, especially in the beauty community, because I still consider myself in the beauty space, but I feel like I've kind of like dug more into lifestyle. The beauty community isn't what it once was.
Absolutely.
I don't even know where the beauty community stands now. I mean, I'm sure it's still there, and it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Because it's, makeup, beauty.
It's a multi-billion dollar.
Yes. Where do you feel the beauty community is now compared to what it was when we first started?
I actually like where the beauty community is right now because I think it's changed. A lot of the big players are definitely still there, but because it's grown so much, that nobody really has a control as to who the top players are anymore. It keeps changing, and I like that it's shown that, because like 2 years ago, the bitches that were on top are no longer on top. So it keeps changing, and I like that because it gives opportunities for other influencers, especially like TikTok. When you see people like Glamzilla, you see people like Michaela, you see Rose and Ben, you see them really loving makeup.
That's what it's all about.
That's what the beauty community is all about. The beauty community that includes me and like the problematic influencers, to me, isn't the best representation of the beauty community, because it's just bitches who are messy who wear makeup. That's what we wear. That's who we were. There's people who really talk about makeup, who really want to create a change in diversity, in inclusion, in what products, vegan, paraben-free, like all these different conversations within the makeup space that are really important, which I really like. So I think we're having that now, as opposed to like 4 or 5 years ago, when even then, like, people were really coming up still, like, uno no sabía, like, what can you really say about brands? What can you really say about makeup products? ¿Qué puede decir? Ahora, like, people aren't scared to be like, hey, this lipstick is fucking trash. You guys need to not buy it. And I think makeup brands are seeing that. They're like, oh, no los podemos controlar. Like, just by sending them PR.
Or sending them on trips.
We're sending them on a trip. We're going to send them, like, PR. We're going to invite them to a party so they talk nice about us. No, not no more.
I think that's very important what you said, because I do feel like the beauty community back then was controlled by the same 9-10 influencers. Was
all white.
All white.
All the top people in the beauty community are white.
Yes, they are. And I feel like it was also a thing where like all the brands would be sponsoring the same people, would be taking the same people on trips, and it was kind of like you said, it was more.
It felt like a clique.
It was.
It felt very high school. Like, oh, these are the popular girls of the beauty community.
Now it's changed to the point where like even people that don't have the same amount of followers but can have the same amount of engagement are the ones getting the deals, are the ones getting the the collabs. Back in the day, it was very filtered. Si no tenías esto, si no te mirabas a certain way, you weren't gonna make it.
If you didn't have Eurocentric looks of being skinny and white and colored eyes and all these different things, it's like people all around the world are creating their own platforms, creating their own voice without having to live in LA, hang out with these fake little people that are like, oh, I'm the top girl in the beauty community. And if you want to be on top, you got to be friends. No, we're not doing that no more.
Also, I do feel like now, la gente que estaba arriba is everywhere. Now, like, they're not really on top. Like, they're still who they are. You know, like, a veces no le puedes quitar el nombre a alguien, but like, people see it now. People see right through them. And also, I feel like now the community is in a place where like, no, la gente sabe que no nomás son ellos.
Sí.
Hay muchos other creators that are like being, seen now by the community that no longer you have to be like, oh, I have to go watch so and so and so because those are the top influencers. No. A veces just because you have the followers doesn't mean they're going to tell you how it really is.
Yeah.
These people are, a lot of the people like not even like.
They're going to say like, oh, this is amazing. You guys should get it. Undisclosed sponsorship and and you get fucked as a customer. And
then you're like, fuck, I just spent my last paycheck on something they said was good and it really wasn't. You know what I mean?
It's like you said earlier, like we started around a very similar time when being an influencer was becoming like a thing.
Yes.
Nobody really knew it. People were keeping up. And I think with time now, people are like, okay, I, as a viewer, as a follower, I can kind of like get around the bullshit.
I will admit too, I feel like the beauty community was at a point where like, even as influencers, uno tenía miedo de decir la verdad about a certain brand because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be taken off the PR list. Now, I feel like because I was so sick and tired kind of that, I kind of shifted more towards lifestyle because it was more like, you know what, yo voy a hacer lo que yo quiera without having to feel like I have to be.
But you grew, you evolved. You said like this isn't fulfilling me like it used to, and you're like, I want to show my life, and I feel like that's done so much better.
Because I love makeup, I love makeup, but I feel like I wasn't truly myself when I was doing fully makeup. I feel like it was a good start. But it stopped being fun when you really got into like the behind the scenes, the business part, because it was like you knew que todo was controlled by the brands. And I feel like now influencers have taken their power and have been like, you know what? Si no les gusta lo que digo to the brands, stop working with me. And I feel like now it's such a different time, you know, that like even brands let you be like, I love this product, but I don't like this about it. And they're okay with it because they know that now influencers know that they're able to do that. Y si no quieren, pues los van a mandar la chingada to the brand.
And
you know
it's the
what I
same
mean?
thing as like a friend. Like if you were saying like, hey, this lipstick sucks. As a brand, you should take that as constructive criticism and be like, hey, is this a common thread of people saying this about the lipstick? Does there have to be reformulation? Should we like fully scrap it? Do we want the brand to be amazing for the customer, or do we just want to make money?
You being someone who has gotten quote unquote canceled various times online, how do you feel about cancel culture?
I don't mind the conversation of cancel culture. And I think people get misconstrued in thinking like, oh, like ahí va cancel culture otra vez, to not let people live their lives. No, the people who have an issue with cancel culture are people who don't hold themselves accountable, who aren't really willing to have a conversation on possibly changing certain bad qualities within themselves. Because the times that I've been called out, I take a step back and be like, is this true? Is this valid? Does this serve me? Like, hey, Gabriel, no te estés metiendo en todo. Hey, you're right. I shouldn't. Like whenever at one point, like I was very proud to be Latina. Like I was like Latina this, Latina that, like Latina. And people are like, hey, like I love that you are so proud of your culture, pero you don't have to make it a caricature. Like you don't have to make your culture a mask that anybody can put on. Because if you're really a Latina, then you should just be just that. And you like who you are should be just that. So I think being able to have a conversation within yourself, with your friends, be like, hey, do you think I'm problematic?
Yeah.
Like as a friend, like I just want you to keep it 100 with me. Like that's my saying. Just keep it 100. Just keep it 100 with me, because that's what I like to do with my audience. That's why I'm not scared to speak my truth, speak my opinion on the internet. Pero see, if somebody's like, hey, I don't agree with it, it's like, okay, let me take a step back. Let me really like assess. Is it one person in the middle of bumfuck nowhere telling me to shut the fuck up? Yes. So I'm not going to listen to them. But sometimes it's like, hey, represent our culture a little bit better. Don't make it such a caricature. Don't be like, oh, I'm Latina because I eat hot Cheetos. I get that. So how do I represent my culture? By really creating advocacy for things that are going on in the border, things that are going on in politics, things that are going on within my culture, sharing my culture with my audience and telling them about my experience, about my parents being immigrants, like being the first of four, being the oldest, like that's how I represent my culture. Like that's how I do things. That's how I have a conversation. So yes, I've been canceled, pero you can never cancel a bad bitch.
Exactly.
Like,
and I
still
feel
here.
like, you know what it is too? I feel like mucha gente misinterpret the word cancel or like the whole cancel culture movement with like, oh, you know what? We're going to drag them and they're never going to come back. No. Look at even the biggest people that have been canceled. They're still here.
They're still here.
We're not going to go anyway.
You're not going to cancel anybody unless that person decides to stop uploading. That's how you cancel somebody.
But I feel like cancel culture is more than what people think it is. I feel like for you that has been in various scandals, I feel like cancel culture should also be a moment where you're like, you know what? Let me step back, como acabas de decir, and really analyze why they're canceling.
Yeah.
And it's also very much a growing experience. But I feel like a lot of people online be like, oh, they're only fucking, you know, changing or saying they're gonna change because they're getting called out. Isn't that how everyone works?
Yeah.
I mean, if no one calls you out on being a shitty person, you're gonna continue being that shitty person.
Yeah. Like let people try to change. And if they still don't, period, keep dragging them, keep tweeting about them, keep commenting shit. Pero si no le das la oportunidad a alguien para cambiar, like how are they gonna change? How are they gonna learn? Like hold them accountable. Don't forget about their past, because our history sometimes gives us an insight into our future. Pero like just hold people accountable and let them.
I also do feel like a lot of people, the reason why it's so hard to really take people like us influencers serious when we're like changing and doing this stuff, because a lot of influencers that have been in really huge scandals dicen que van a cambiar y luego no lo hacen. Siguen igual de shitty. Ya cuando se pasa la tormenta, ya cuando todos los perdonaron, back to like everyone loves them again, they start being that shitty person again. But I feel like it also is really hard, you know, not really as an influencer, but as a human being to change así. It takes it takes time.
It definitely takes time.
But it's doable.
And it's your own responsibility. No es responsabilidad mía. If you're going to change something problematic about you, and it works the same way. If I'm being shitty and you call me out on it, It's not your responsibility to be like, hey, Gabriel, have you been doing the work? Have you been doing the self-reflection? Have you been doing the growth? Have you been doing these steps to really change who you are? If you're not, then I don't have to support you. I don't have to follow you. I don't have to purchase anything from you. And I think the audience is now able to hold people accountable and also not support them. And I think we're at that point where it's like, oh, I'm not going to buy from you because it does support you.
And I feel like that has to do a lot going back with the thing that we were talking about earlier. There's so many other influencers to support rather than how it was before, que nomás tenían the same 10.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like before it was like, fuck, they did something bad, but like that's the only people we can watch. So los tenemos que perdonar. We have to keep watching. We have to keep up. But now it's like, si alguien is not really giving you what you want them to give, because at the end of the day, no te podemos complacer, but like sometimes as a viewer, you want to, you know, connect to like the influencer. You want to make sure that, you know, what they do kind of is like what you do.
Yeah.
Si esa persona, that influencer is not giving you that, there's so many fucking other influencers
and you don't
that
have to follow somebody with 20 million followers. You can follow
Just
somebody with like 100,000.
Yes.
20,000. Like if you like them, if you agree with them, if you want to support them, do that.
Yes.
And stop supporting shitty people. Like even if you're like, Gabriel, you're shitty yourself, no me soporten. Like it's that simple. Like don't let negativity into your life, whether it be people you follow, people in your own life, or people that you see on TV. Don't allow negativity into your life. And that means unfollowing people. That means blocking people. That means not watching certain things. That means cutting people out of your life. Like that means a lot of different things. And because at the end of the day, you have to protect your peace.
Yes.
Like you matter.
I'm talking about peace. How do you do? I feel like you've had numerous, some very public, some not very public fallouts with certain influencers. How do you do it to continue your life, especially when people constantly keep asking you about certain people in your life?
I think it's very easy for that conversation to get overwhelming porque cuando uno sube tantas fotos, tantos videos con una persona, uno, like the followers are aware of that relationship. They're aware of that friendship and they want to keep up with it. So when you don't see it and there's no explanation behind it, people get upset and people just want to know and people want to ask. And to me, that's totally acceptable porque I shared that part of my life with y'all. Pero I've been very forthcoming with my audience that like, if I don't share it with you, it's because I don't want to. Y si no te quiero decir why I don't fuck with this person anymore, I'm not going to tell you, pero a lot of the time you can go on the internet and find their own scandals and understand why, oh, Gabriel's a no bullshit type of person. This person's about the bullshit. That's probably why Gabriel doesn't fuck with them. And my audience is very smart. I give a lot of credit to my audience because I always tell them like, you bitches can find things out. You bitches put 2 and 2 together. Like I've always been told by influencers are like, you can basically like tell your audience what to do. Les puedes decir lo que tienen que pensar and like you can control them. And I'm like, really? Because my bitches are smart and they don't put up with that shit.
But you know what it is? I think, like I was saying, a lot of the time your viewers kind of resemble you.
Yeah.
Because they want to follow you because you're like, oh, yo me miro en esa persona. I'm kind of like that. So I feel like because you're that type of person, your viewers are also that type of person. So son rápidos. Si algo pasa, they're like, we already know what happened.
And
Sin que les tengas que decir.
And they know when I'm being shady on Twitter because I'll do like subliminal tweets.
Yes.
Like I won't talk about the situation anymore sometimes, but I'll put out a tweet around the time something's happening and they're like, oh, we know what you're talking about.
Like, we know who
and I'm like,
and you're like, damn.
Sometimes I'll wait days, bitch, and they'll still know. And I'm like, you bitches
which
are
is
smart.
good because a veces no tienes que decir todo.
Yeah.
Y nomás dices poquito y la gente sabe lo que estás hablando.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day, us as, you know, influencers being online, we got to give our fans what they want to listen. But you've been able to manage a way to do that without really speaking fully on the subject.
Without being that like, oh, ya cállate, Gabriel. Now it's like, ooh, she's being messy. I
but
love
they
it.
Know,
yeah,
they
but they
know why. So recently there was an E! True Hollywood Story episode about the drama. Can you tell us a little bit more de todo eso? And how was it like seeing, you know, everything go down? Porque a veces decimos, oh, it's just our little internet drama. Being, you know, explained on such a big platform.
As an avid watcher, when I was a little kid, I loved E! True Hollywood Story. And like, it was just like, it was fascinating porque te decían la historia de like, whether a celebrity, an event or certain things.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh wow, like it's like almost documenting celebrity culture. So it was really cool. So to hear like, oh my God, there's like a E! True Hollywood Story about the drama that I was in. Like, no, como que like the beauty community drama.
Yes.
So they had a whole episode on E! Where they talked about Dramageddon 1 and Dramageddon 2. And I was heavily involved in Dramageddon 1. I was slightly involved in Dramageddon 2, pero no me incluyeron, thank God. But I was was like, okay, period. I'm not in both of them. So in the first one, they definitely included me. They talked a lot about what was going on. And it was really interesting to see it porque like, it was 2018, of course, so it's been a few years now. I don't always think about it unless it's brought up in conversation. So to have seen it documented, and they're like, now, and then Gabriel Zamora did this, and then this person did this, and they included everybody. What I liked about it, though, was that they held Jeffree Star accountable as being the problematic influencer involved in all the situations. Because you can say that Gabriel Zamora is problematic, you can say that Gabriel Zamora is messy, but the first bitch to start the mess in the beauty community was Jeffree Star. That was the first person. He really he cultivated that drama in the beauty community. I'm not saying I'm innocent. I was involved in some of the stuff, so like no soy inocente. Pero I like that they held him accountable and being like, hey, you seem to be the problematic bitch in all these situations, so you're the person really responsible. Like, you're not being held accountable. Like, you think you're untouchable. And when we look now in 2021 in comparison to 2018, the same bitches that were on top are no longer on top. Porque people don't put up with your shit no more. People aren't going to put up with it no more. And if you're not willing to change for your audience will move on. Like you said, like they'll go on to somebody else. So in that one, they documented it pretty well. There were some things that were missing, of course, porque they're not involved. Like they're getting their information from the internet, from YouTube videos. They interviewed a couple people. They interviewed Manny MUA. He was in Dramageddon 1. He's one of my really good friends now. They interviewed Jackie Aina. Like, she's an amazing representation for the beauty community in not only in diversification as to who you see as the beauty community, not just these white girls. Like, she has shown so much like inclusivity. There was Hannah from Smoky Glow. She's kind of like a commentary channel. She's commented a lot. So they kept it pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Was it very accurate?
It was pretty accurate. I'm not gonna lie. They missed some parts. But they got some parts wrong.
Stuff.
They weren't wrong.
Okay.
Which I liked. Like, they weren't like, oh, like they said this and it was wrong. See, like I could have added more.
What would you have added?
I think if I could have added, would have been just my opinion of like, hey, Gabriel, like, what would you have done differently now knowing what you know? I think I would have handled things offline if I could have. Porque at the time, we didn't even know what Dramageddon was, what cancel culture was. Somebody was like, you bitches started cancel culture. And I'm like,
you're like, we really did. No, honestly, in the beauty community, though, it wasn't a thing until Dramageddon 1.
Yeah.
It really wasn't.
Like, we kind of kept up with messy things like, oh, this influencer like this messy tweet, or
but
they tweeted
this. But it wasn't very like...
It wasn't so many big influencers involved in one thing. And there was only 5 of us involved in it. So it was all about these people. But
at the time, those 5 influencers, like you were saying, were the top influencers. Yeah.
Well, not me. I think I had like 200,000
but even then,
subscribers.
I feel like se te miraba mucho.
Sí. Well, they would see me around a lot with friends. And when people are like, oh, do you regret it? Would you change? No, fuck no. Like, I like who Gabriel is now because of that, because it showed me like, stand up for yourself. Like, if one thing our culture has taught us is deféndete and don't let anybody just push you around y maltratarte. Like, absolutely not. So I stood up for myself. I think it set a precedent as to don't fuck with Gabriel like that, because I will come for you. Like,
which is honestly something that like what you said, you stood up for yourself, which is something kind of scary to do, which a lot of people would have been scared in that situation, because like you said, you weren't one of the top influencers.
Yeah, I didn't even have a million.
Exactly. Like you said,
everybody else had a million.
You had like 200,000. Yeah. So it could have been so easy to where you felt like if you didn't do what they wanted you to do, your whole career, everything you've worked for could have been over.
And I did. I was at a point where I was like, oh my God, my career is going to be over, dude. Like, I'm just like doing what everybody wants me to do. And I'm like, but who do you do your career for?
Yes.
Do you do it for everybody else?
Or for yourself?
Or do you do it for you, for your family and your audience? That's what I do it for. So then I was like, oh, let's fight. Let's fight. Because one thing a bitch can't do is outwit me in words. Because my truth was unedited and it was 48 minutes. Name another bitch who can do that in the game. And I think it's like, I'm a product of my entire upbringing and my entire life experience of not only like being the oldest of 4, being the first child of 2 immigrant parents, having to understand shit for them, having to defend them, having to translate things. I understood from a very early age that my power did not come from money or materialistic things. It came from my mouth. It came from my words. It came from being able to properly articulate my words. So that, as well as being like, I took acting classes back in Houston. I've also worked in retail. I know how to talk to people. Like, I am very good with my words, and I'm aware that that's like my superpower. I know how to express myself. I know how to articulate myself. I know how to speak. So there's not a whole lot of girls that could come up against me during that moment. So when I did that and I had no edits, I had nothing, it's like, so what are y'all gonna say? Like, are you gonna say that I lied? Are you gonna say like, oh, Gabriel, you're editing it so that it can be...
Yes.
No. Like, tell me where I lied. Tell me where I didn't keep it 100.
Whew, you guys, puro pinche chisme hasta me got me a little shook. And I know a lot of you guys at home watching or listening are kind of like, whoa, we did not expect todo este pinche chisme from Gabriel. But like I was saying, Gabriel vino listo and
she's ready to be messy.
Yes. So enough with the whole beauty world stuff, you guys. You recently attended Astroworld.
Yes.
If you're comfortable speaking about it, what was your experience at the event?
So I went to Houston to go see my sister perform at a football game because she's on the dance team. And when I said it on like IG stories, people were like, oh, you're going to Astroworld, you're going to Astroworld. I had never really heard about it. It had only been 2 times. Like, we're coming out of a pandemic. I'm like, ¿qué es esto?
Yes.
Like, it's in Houston. Travis Scott is from Houston. Like, let me do some research. It looked really cool. It was like a 2-day festival. I could only go on Friday, even though Bad Bunny was supposed to perform on Saturday, bitch. Oh,
I was like, missed the best
I was
part.
like, why am I going to Houston to go see my sister? Like, I should go for Bad Bunny. So I was like, no, but like, just go on Friday, go with your friends. Like, one of my best friend was there because he was doing like an artist's hair.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like, cool, it'll be really fun. So I went, and like, I remember like, I went kind of later, like, fui como a las 4:30. Like, it started at 12, and I was like, okay, like, I don't want to see like the first early people. I just want to see SZA and Travis Scott. Like, that was only for me, and I wanted merch. Like, that's all I wanted. So when I got there, like, there was issues right off the bat, like red flags. Like, you know, that's like a trend right now. Like, oh, this is a red flag. This is a red flag.
That
red
was
flag
you,
here.
like, you were seeing
me.
them.
I was like seeing everything, and like, you and me are very much aware of beauty events, BeautyCon, Gen Beauty. We're aware of security. We're aware of production. Ya sabemos like how things really run, whether we have a taste of it or whether we really know every single detail. So when I got there, I was like, yo, like the security's kind of like lax. Like at one point they're like, oh, open your bags because you needed a clear bag. Nobody gave a fuck that I had a clear bag. Nobody checked my bag. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. My friend had like a water bottle in his hoodie. Nadie se lo quitó, even though they were taking waters and drinks from everybody. I was like, okay, this is kind of like a red flag, but whatever.
Yes.
At one point, the first security guard said, oh, did you get your shot? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, do you have like your vaccine? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, do you have proof? And I was like, I have a photo of my Vax card. And he's like, okay, like that's fine.
We'll take that.
And my friend's like, oh, I don't have a photo of mine. He's like, oh, that's fine. As long as one of you shows me. And I'm like, okay, like red flag, but like, okay, whatever. So I go, it's also Texas. It's a red state. Like, they don't even give a fuck about like so many things.
And then you also like, cuando está pasando eso, you kind of think about it like, oh,
no va a pasar algo malo in the end.
You don't go into any concert, any, anything thinking algo va a pasar.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Texas. It's a Republican state. They already like limit abortions. They limit mask usage. They limit all these different things. Like, of course, they're not going to give a fuck about vaccines, but like whatever. So I go in. I go to the second one, which is a metal detector. I put my bag through the thing. I walk through it. I don't go off because I don't have anything metal on, because it's all gold, baby. So, so I go through and I don't go off, but nobody checks me. Nobody's like, oh yeah, you're good. Nadie me habla. And I'm like, okay. So I just grab my bag and I go through, me and my friend. And I was like, that was like
weird.
That was like some bitch. And even along the way, like there was a lot of people waiting outside. And I was like, why aren't people inside?
Yeah.
¿Por qué no están adentro? And like,
sí, la fiesta está adentro.
Yeah. And I'm like, why aren't you inside? I was like, whatever. I didn't think of it. The line was really long for merch. I stand in the back because I didn't want to be like a cutter. And I was like, God, like this is taking too long. So then I asked, like, I didn't ask, but I like take my glasses out because I knew somebody was gonna recognize me because Houston is one of my top cities. So I was like, somebody's gonna let me cut and I'll buy their merch. Like, I don't give a fuck. I just want one piece. So some girl at the very front lets me cut. We're talking, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy your merch. She's like, did you see what happened earlier? And I was like, no, what happened?
Oh, damn.
She's like, people stampeded in. They broke in the barricade. They stampeded through VIP. Like, they all just like ran in. They ran in through the crowd. They ran into the festival. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then, but then what happened? They're like, they were trying to take some people out, but security didn't know who was really there. Some people had wristbands. They were like, yo, why are you kicking me out? I have a wristband. So then security was like, oh, like, I guess we can just back up. So they didn't really kick people out. So that's already a big security issue as an event. People have not been screened. People who aren't supposed to be there are in there. And we do not know how many people are in there when events have a capacity.
Yes.
You have a capacity. If you only sold 50,000 wristbands is because you only can really allow 50,000 people, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 more.
But that is with
that's like some VIP.
Yes.
Like we're gonna figure you out. You're just gonna be in the back. But when possibly 3,000, 4,000 people came in illegally, that's an issue. Porque uno no sabe qué trajeron. Because then the conversation was had later. Like some people were getting injected with drugs.
Yeah, I saw.
Could that have been prevented had there been proper security at the event? So I'm like, okay, like. Oh, like people are just sneaking in. Travis Scott is known for saying like, oh, like the wild ones are going to really make it through. And I'm like, okay. So I'm there. I'm having a great time. I'm a little high, everyone. I mean, you know, like she lives that life. So I'm there with my friends. I'm having a great time. I see SZA because that's who I wanted to see. And her performance was cool because she had 2 rectangles on the side and you can see her. Travis Scott's performance was bad because you really couldn't see him. You had to really like push forward. Yeah. That's why you see all these people push porque él no tenía pantallas grandes on the side. He just had like this mountain that they would show him sometime, but not all the time. So people are pushing. He's invoking like all these things. Yes, he stopped the concert like 4 or 5 times, pero he didn't do anything. He kept going.
You know what's funny? I actually have gone to a Travis Scott concert in Vegas.
Were you in the mosh pit?
Yes. We left. We spent a lot of, it was very last minute tickets. I think we had spent, it was me, Danny, and Annette, and we had gone because we're in Vegas. I think this was maybe like 2 years ago. I want to say we did go one time. It was like during Annette's birthday. We went, paid like almost $1,000 for the 3 tickets, you know, which was kind of like, okay, cool, whatever, go have a good time. We literally left 1 song in. It was scary because también él, I will say this, you know, I do feel like he, like you said,
he promotes that rage culture.
Yes. And it's scary, you know, alguien que you're just going to have a good time when they're not, you know, not everyone's about that. And not everyone's trying to get hurt or, you know, trying to go through all that. We left because it was very scary. We were getting pushed. We were getting like hit. And we're like, bruh, like.
I wasn't even in the front. And at one point, like, I just felt really packed because there was something going on. For like 2-3 minutes, I was just like this.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm not even in the front because, first of all, my outfit was expensive. Like, I'm not having bitches step on me. And second of all, like, back up.
Yes.
Like, hi, everyone. Like, back up.
Get
like, I don't need people on me. Like, and I'm also like, yo juzgo a la gente that likes a mosh pit. Like, because first of all, why do you like that level of abuse? Like, why do you want to be hit? Let's go to therapy.
Why is that even a fucking thing?
Yes. I'm like, why is that still a thing? Like, you're one of the few artists that still does this, that still promotes this. Like, why to hit? Like, why? Like, I will agree that his music makes you want to jump and makes you want to like, yes. Pero like to be throwing hands and like, for what? Like,
and I feel like he promotes that so much that I feel like his audience, because he does, think about it this way, you guys, he's not a little influencer with a million. No,
he's Travis Scott.
Travis Scott.
His baby mama is Kylie Jenner.
He has the fucking power to tell, like, if he tells his audience, like, do this, they're gonna fucking do it. So the fact that he didn't do anything to stop it is already, like you said, a red fucking flag.
Yes, he stopped the thing 5 times. That should be a red flag for you as an artist. Like, yo, what the fuck is going on? There's a lot of things going on. There's somebody getting CPR that you can see because people can see you from where they are. No vas a parar y pensar like, yo, is this person okay? Yo, too many things. Hey, everybody, let's just take 2 steps back. Let's just take 2 steps back. You're an artist. You should be able to not... And I can see, let's play devil's advocate. Maybe you're having a great time and you know that you can't see that. You should be a professional to have a manager that is crowd controlling your audience and be like, yo, Travis, it's like saying, don't be having yes people. Travis might be having a bunch of yes people all around him and be like, let's not stop the show because Travis might get mad and it's going to ruin his show and it's going to ruin Astroworld. What if they don't want to come tomorrow? Guess what? It was canceled the next day. And guess what? Astroworld is now ruined. Guess what? He's not getting booked for all these other events. Why? Because you had a bunch of yes people around you who didn't want to tell you, hey, stop the show because people are getting hurt.
What did you think about his apology?
I think we have to give it time. I don't like how he talked to the camera.
Yes, I know. I didn't like how he didn't even
look
at it.
Why is it black and white? You didn't look at it.
He didn't even look at the camera. Like, at the end of the day, when you, like, your apology, like, you have to look at the camera because you want to also make sure that the people that are watching whatever you're putting out, make sure that there's a connection. When you're looking at them, like, you're looking at someone in the eye.
Because usually when they're not making eye contact, they're lying or they're avoiding something.
So they're like, and I saw that and I was like, I didn't even see all of it. I was like, bullshit. He knew shit was going down.
It was being made fun of. Like, At 9:30, HPD had deemed it a very unsafe, people are dying event.
Yes.
You're trying to tell me that you still performed for 45 minutes, you brought Drake out, and at no point, nobody on your team told you, hey, people are dying at your event. Nobody told you this. It's you are at fault. And if truly nobody did tell him that, I can somewhat understand his participation in the severity of the event, because if nobody really told him, his percentage of accountability goes down.
Yes.
Pero si alguien le dijo, hey, people are dying, and you still continue, you are far more responsible for those
Yes,
people's
and I
death.
feel like at the end of the day, too, you guys, I do feel like you said there wasn't really a lot of security. Like, how are you gonna be Travis fucking Scott, throw this big ass event and just...
And the event was not cheap. General admission was $350. VIP was $700. VIP premium was $1,000.
Yeah,
You're trying to tell me you don't have money?
There was no budget for it. You can't say that.
Bro, you have budget. You have budget, pero no te importó.
Exactly.
You chose money over people's lives.
And I do feel like it has to do a lot with, you know, maybe he wanted it to get crazy, because even me going to a concert before, it almost felt, I won't say that he intended for people to die, but it almost felt like he wanted it to get crazy. Maybe not to the point where people were dying, but maybe to the point where people got hurt.
Like, he wants people to have fun.
Yes.
I get that. But when you are in post-pandemic, as we're winding down from the pandemic, we're still dealing with situations. You're also an artist who talks about excessive drug use in your music, which I get it, but your audience is very young. You collab with McDonald's, you collab with Fortnite. Let's not act like it's 30-year-olds like going on Fortnite. So you have a young audience, you talk about drug use, you want people to have a great time, but you don't want to like invest in security and having it a safe space when you've had 2 instances of people getting hurt at your events. Somebody was paralyzed at his event. He was sued for it and he pled guilty for it. You are clearly aware of, you are not like some like Taylor Swift, like, hey guys, let's have a great time, kumbaya type of shit. You are Travis Scott. People get hurt at your event. Spend a little bit more so that there could be adequate security so that people are safe. If people want to like create their own mosh pit, déjalos, que se golpeen. That I don't care about. But the other people who were not able to breathe, that were trampled because there wasn't adequate crowd control, is completely your responsibility, because you're not just an artist at this event. You are the owner of the trademark Astroworld and the event Astroworld. You are the boss and the artist. At the end of the day, that's why you look the worst, because it's your event. Nobody, not even me, went to this event thinking I could possibly die.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't have gone. When I went skydiving, I understood I could die.
Yeah.
I signed a waiver that said, bitch, you might die.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But when I go to a concert, I'm there to have fun. It had a festival aspect of you can get on a Ferris wheel, you can play games, like you can do all these things. It's an amazing experience for Houston, for the community. So it is Travis Scott's responsibility to make it safe for all ages, whether it be a 3-year-old or whether it be a 72-year-old. Like, it is his responsibility and the event's responsibility and Live Nation to create a safe space for all ages. If you don't want to be in the front, like you said, you're like, I don't want to be close to the like performance because it's unsafe. Cool, go to a safe area. But it's the fact that people went up there knowing that like, oh, we're gonna throw elbows. They did not know that they were gonna die. So when you look at the little 10-year-old who I think, no, he's 9, a little boy named Ezra, he is the 10th person who has died because he was with his dad and he was trampled by the crowd, not because he was injected with drugs, not because he's like this little kid. It's because there wasn't crowd control. And unfortunately, people murdered him unknowingly. Nobody stepped on him thinking like, oh yeah, I'm killing this little kid. It's just, uno no sabe where the crowd is pushing you. You're stepping on people.
Y a veces también no tiene uno el control de lo que está pasando.
Like they're
Te puchan
pushing
a ti,
you.
Y a veces uno
and you're
trata,
stepping on things so that you don't fall. Not thinking, oh, I'm stepping on a person.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like it's such a, very sad that many, like, I feel like a lot of people too, I did see on Twitter, like, oh my God, it's those big Travis Scott stands. Like, it's only 8 people out of a huge event. I'm like, those 8 people had families. Those 8 people, like, I feel like when I saw that tweet, I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, these people like are so up these artists' ass. They're like, oh, it could have been, 100 people. No. Like, even if it was just 1.
And who are we to invalidate that person's life? Why? Because they didn't have a following, because they weren't a celebrity, that they are not of value. Every single person is of value. Well, maybe one person died, but who are the people around them that are affected? Not only their family, but their friends, their colleagues. There's so many people that are affected by those now 10 individuals. So are we supposed to discredit them? It's like the conversation about COVID. It's like, oh, only like 2% of people have died. That's still 700,000 people who have died. Oh.
And 700,000 families that were affected by those deaths. You know what I mean? So it's like, it all comes down to, I just feel like the event could have been better, organized. Yeah. And I feel like at the end of the day, if he really did know that people were getting hurt, he needs to take accountability of it.
Yeah. He fully refunded everybody.
I saw.
Which, absolutely, but it also, like, it takes away accountability, which I totally understand, because you technically went to a free event.
Yes.
So you can't, like, I get that. There's a legal aspect to that. But if he fully handles all the legal stuff for these individuals, all these funeral expenses, the whole, like, BetterHelp thing, that was a fucking mess. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, I get what you were trying to do, but a month of therapy after a tragic event like that, it's not going to do anything for nobody. You have to handle all that. You have to take full accountability. You have to take a pause from that. You have to, from Astroworld, because I'm not going to tell you, fuck Astroworld, you can never do it again. Maybe in 5 years, you can come back after you have shown that you can go to events and you can be a responsible artist that isn't going to put your audience at risk, not only for you, for them, but for the events and for the venues. After that, if after 5 years you have done right by your audience, because that's who you affected, Travis Scott, you affected your audience. If you have done right by them, then yes, you can go back to being Travis Scott. Maybe you can have Astroworld. You can know what to do now. But until then, it's like you said, we have to give people not only time to apologize, to understand, and to show that they have changed. And after that, then yes, we can hopefully start to, maybe some people that are really affected that are like, I never want to fuck with him. Absolutely. Yes. I'm not one to tell you how to deal with your own trauma, even if you weren't personally affected. Yeah. If you don't want to fuck with Travis Scott, absolutely. I'm not one to tell you that. But if people are like, hey, he's changed and I want to give this artist an opportunity, I can understand it.
Whew, you guys, okay, so ya después de todo ese chisme and obviously that very serious conversation that me and Gabriel just had, como que ya estuvo bueno de tanto chisme, we're gonna go ahead and do something a little fun, you know what I mean? So we're gonna go ahead and go over to the Wheel of Pendejadas. All right, you guys, so como pueden ver, Gabriel spun the wheel and he got wild, and the wild card says Song Association. So para todos ustedes que no saben, have you played this game?
It's like when you say a word.
Yes.
Right? And then they have to come up with lyrics?
Yes. So production is going to give us a random word that they're going to literally scream. And we're going to try to... Scream. I'm like, no, because we need to hear them. They're going to say a word, and we literally have to come up with the song that has that word in the lyrics. Okay. So they're going to say 5. So the one that gets the most points wins. Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Come on, production. Flashlight? Flashlight? You know what I mean? I'm like, flashlight. I'm like, can we get another word? Like something maybe that like, popular, because I don't feel like there's any song with flashlight.
I only think of lights. Like, all of the lights in here, baby.
Oh, but that's flashlight. I could have thought like, baby, you light up. Baby,
you light up my world with this flashlight.
I'm like, so do it again. I'm like, me not wanting to give Gabriel the point. Love. Baby, are you
love? Never knew what I was missing. Keisha Cole.
Okay. I'm like, he doesn't sound like that. That's why. Okay, he gets the point, you guys. Okay, a ver. Baby, you light up my world like nobody. Ya tenía esta pinche palabra lista, esta canción lista, you guys. 1-1. We need 3 more words. DJ turn up, DJ peligro. Yo quiero un paletero que tenga dinero. Viajes, lujos. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Hey, okay, 2-1. Me already winning. Caro or carro? Like expensive? Now I have to think about Spanish songs. How am I?
Como pobrecita to a bad
bitch.
Soy la 69.
Soy la chingona que salió de Riverside. La que siempre quiso más.
Hey,
that's all.
That's my favorite part.
Hey, we got a point then. Should we just say Riverside? Fuck it. Okay. So 3-2. So this is the last word, you guys. Either empatamos o le gano a Gabriel. Okay. Go. Cuerpo. Fuck, there's a novela, Cuerpo en la Sangre. That's Fuego en la Sangre, huh? Fuck, cuerpo. Bitch, why do like...
Wow, I can't really think of cuerpo.
And I feel like there's a lot of songs with cuerpo.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and I can't think of shit. Cuerpo. Yeah, another one. Pajama. Sin pijama. From Becky G.
Yeah.
Becky G and Nati Natasha.
Sin
You
pijama.
guys, I won! All right, you guys, so ya que jugamos ese jueguito and we're approaching the end of today's episode, I'm gonna go ahead and send it over to Gabriel to let us know what is next for Gabriel. What are you working on, or what can the people expect from you?
Okay. So what's next for Gabriel? I am diversifying my content. It's not just makeup tutorials anymore.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, look at this new makeup product. It's always like evolving who Gabriel is. Gabriel's a chef. Gabriel likes to talk. Gabriel loves to have a podcast. Gabriel loves to do different things. So you're gonna see a lot of different things on my channel, not only on just YouTube, on Instagram, on all these different platforms. I'm gonna be showing my family more. I'm gonna be showing my friends more now that the pandemic is winding down. I'm able to do collabs more. I'm able to go out more. I'm able to like travel more. That's what I really want to start doing. And like dabble in some things that will be coming out in 2022 that you guys will be seeing.
All right, you guys. So with that being said, don't forget to go ahead and follow Gabriel on all his social medias, which we'll leave down below. And don't forget to follow me on all mine so you guys won't miss a future episode. And with that being said, you guys, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.